Shalom. Before I begin, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem El-Shah, Ba'ashem HaKakodash, and the bonus of the apostles, elders, great millstone, and Shalom. I said, I keep teaching this word throughout the four corners, and true sincerity. I'm back with another lesson. I do the spirit by Yahweh, Ba'ashem El-Shah. I want to be edifying. Unto the elect of Yahweh, Ba'ashem El-Shah. And the topic of this lesson is going into how the Lord is going to avenge, his elect. Okay, really just avenge the whole nation of Israel. But going into those that died, especially those that died in the faith, and believing and died in the names of Yahweh Shema Shai. They will be avenged. The things that these heathens and mainly Esau Edom has done, to us. The Lord hasn't forgotten the things that, even the things that, what happened when we was leaving, Egypt. That's just one example. Before I get into the lesson, the true name of God is Yahweh, which means he is or he exists. The name of his son is Yahweh Shai, which means he saves or he delivers. Okay, so it'll be Yahweh Ba'ashem El-Shai. Those are the names for our power. Okay, the Father and the Son. It's not just God, and it's definitely not Jesus. That's not his name. But going into the lesson, one of the examples how the Lord's gonna avenge us because of the things that Esau has done to us. Let's go even to the time of when Yahweh Shah was on the scene. When Herod at the time, King Herod at the time, decided to kill, babies 3 years and younger. Try to come and kill Yahweh Shah, upset. Prophecy from coming to pass. And the things that he does now, the things that he did in slavery, the Lord hasn't forgotten those things. So there's a tab that needs to be paid. But the precept I want to get is Deuteronomy 25. I'm gonna start with this. Just give an example. Deuteronomy 25 and starting at 17. It says, remember what Amalek did unto thee by the way when ye were come forth out of Egypt, how he met thee by the way, and smote the animals of thee, even all that were feeble behind thee, killing the elderly, that was faint and weary, and he feared not the Most High. Therefore it shall be, when the Lord Yahweh thy power had given thee rest from all thine enemies round about, in the land which the Lord Yahweh thy power had given thee for an inheritance to possess it, that thou shalt blot out the remembrance of Amalek from in heaven, thou shalt not forget. So again, these things haven't been forgotten, what these nations have done, to us. So who would be, the Amalekites today? Those small hat, Goldilocks, long nose, niggas that proclaim they be the Jews, but really are not, but are Amalekites, which are ultimately, Edomites. Okay, those people, have a tab to pay. These are things that won't be forgotten, and the Lord hasn't. It hasn't been that long for the Lord, because we understand that the Lord, experience, time is a whole different, level. So this happened not long ago, at all. Exodus 25 and Exodus 25. It's Exodus 17 and 16. So he said, because the Lord Yahweh has sworn that the Lord Yahweh will have a war with Amalek from generation to generation. So this is a generational, hatred against this specific, people. And I'm focusing on Esau Edom because he's the number one adversary for the nation of Israel, the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. We are the chosen people. All right, that's why they constantly, come up after us. So that's why they have such a strong hatred, towards us. All right, because they envy what we have. All right, they envy what we have. So it's not just skin color. All right, this is a spiritual hatred going back, decades, thousands of years. Going back all the way to Esau and Jacob. Okay. But I'm gonna get Revelation 6 as well, because of the souls that have, died in the truth. This is Revelation 6 and 9. It says, "And when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of the Most High." So you had, different prophets, men of Yahweh Shemashah that were, slain because of the word. All right, read the book of Acts. The men of the Lord. Not even book of Acts, but namely number 1. Look at Yahweh Shai. He was slain. Look at things that he taught, the truth. Look at the prophets, how they were slain. All right, because of his word, and it says, "And for the testimony which they held." Right. All right. This word, it cuts, it exposes, it reveals things that these devils don't want revealed. So when we come up against them and this truth gains traction, all right, they end up coming after them, and the Lord end up, dying, not looking at that as a loss, because death is not a loss at all. Death is actually gain, because that proved that the men of the Lord that died, they endured unto the end. But the way that they died, all right, that's not a righteous, I'm not gonna say not a righteous way, but there was no actual crime or thing that was committed for them to receive death. All we did was teach the word. All right, because we live in a wicked society, we're viewed as enemy number 1. All right, so when the things do hit the fan, all right, Esau ain't gonna be worrying about Jake that got guns and shit like that. He gonna be worrying about us, because this is the number 1 opposition. This devil done spent billions and trillions of dollars to hide this, from the world. But all right, it was to no prevail, because he didn't account for the spirit. All right, so these men that died, all right, they were slain for the word. And it says, "And they cried with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Lord, holy and true, thou dost not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth." So these souls are, basically, they want to be avenged. Okay, they want to be avenged, and the Lord is, definitely, going to avenge us. Because scriptures talk about this, America being made desolate, how Esau, Edom is going into captivity. All right, so we definitely will be avenged. All right. Because when you go into Psalm 75, it talks about how Psalm 75 and start at 4 says, "And I said unto the fools, they're not foolishly, and to the wicked lift not up the horn." Right? Don't be proud. All right, because the horn represents power, and it says, lift not up the horn. It says, lift not up your horn on high, speak not with a stiff neck. Promotion coming neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south, but the Most High is the judge. He put it down one and set it up another. So, kings and presidents and rulers are ultimately set up from Yahweh Shemashah, and the way one gets set up is the same way how one get put down. It ain't nothing to the Lord. He set up Esau wicked as to rule. Okay? It says, for in the hand of the Lord Yahweh there is a cup, and the wine is red, it is full of mixture. And he poured out the same, but the dregs thereof, all the wicked of the earth shall wring them out and drink them. So, how the same way how we went into slavery, and we drank of that cup. All right. Esau, he don't got to drink of that cup as well. Because he, again, going back to that tab that he got to pay. Scripture said, "He that lead in captivity shall go into captivity." Esau brought us over here, all right, on them cargo slave ships. Like we go have him we gonna have his ass changed up. He go be our slaves in the kingdom. All right. But I will declare forever, I will sing praises to the God of Jacob. All the horns of the wicked also would I cut off, but the horns of the righteous shall be exalted. So at the end of the day, we will be exalted. All right, because at the end of the day, once again, the Lord was on our side, all along. Right? The Lord was on our side all along. Okay, because we only went into, punishment. We only went into captivity, for a punishment for, transgression, the laws, statutes, commandments, sinning, basic transgression of the law. All right. But now we're coming into a very, major change in the earth, a role reversal, as you can see, with Esau, Edom being brought low, and ultimately the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans being brought up, on high. All right. But I want to get 2 Thessalonians 1:6. It says, singing is a righteous thing with the Most High to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you. So it's a righteous thing, for the Lord to repay, those that have troubled us. All right, because is that not fair? How they treated us? They treated us like absolute shit, right? So Lord's going to repay them because of how they treated us. All right, that's a righteous, a recompense, a repayment, a reward for the things that you've done, right? I'm gonna get so just say they have very heavily laid, the yoke in Isaiah 47. Yep, Isaiah 47:6. I really can start up. I'm gonna start up. It says, come down and sit in the dust. Dust represents confusion. O virgin, daughter of Babylon. Babylon, representing America, and this place being called a virgin because this place has never been touched. When I say touch, you really haven't been gone through no external, turmoil, All right. It says, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, going into America again. For thou shalt not be called tender and delicate. Take the millstones and grind meal, and cover thy locks. Make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. It says, thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yet thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, I will not meet thee as a man. So, when it talks about making bare the leg, uncover the thigh, nakedness being uncovered, it's this place being exposed, and that's slowly how the Lord is avenging us. Because, Esau would do this wicked shit, paint us in a bad light, but there wouldn't be like, what's the word I'm looking for? Esau would paint us in a bad light. The men of the Lord would die, and they would have a bad name, right? The Lord is avenging us as well, because the Lord is bringing all this wicked shit to light. We've been telling you that this devil is wicked. All right, we've been telling you that things that he done throughout history, killing the men of the Lord, etc. All right, so they're being avenged in that sense, too. Or the men of the Lord are receiving, praise and fame, on the earth, and that will be done, soon. All right, but this devil was being exposed for him to be a wicked ass nigga. Example with Epstein and Trump, and how these all celebrities are tied in. All right, sacrificing children, kidnapping children, all right, serving Baal. All this is now mainstream, and people are not questioning this devil. They're not trusting him anymore because they know what he's about. All right. It says, I will take vengeance, I will not meet thee as a man, talking about when Yahushua returns. All right, Yahushua is about to return with the hosts of heaven. All right, to go to war and to conquer, these different nations. As it says in Revelation 19, he has many crowns. All right, the Lord is coming back for his dominion. It says, and as for our Redeemer, the Lord Yahweh of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. Sit thou silent, get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. All right, because this place is about to get prepared for, a judgment like no other. All right, the secret's out. Everybody know who you is. This whore, this great whore. Says, I was wroth for my people, right? As I was saying before, the Lord sent us into captivity for a punishment. I polluted my inheritance, right? I've given them into thine hand. We've been given into the hand, of Esau, Edom. And these nations clowned us, said the Lord is not dealing with us anymore, etc. Right? It says, thou didn't show them no mercy, right? Because he let his hatred, take over, not really, understanding what was really going on, like not really asking, how can I have this great nation under subjection, this same nation that was beating my ass, right? That had me as captive. It said, thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the ancient has thou didst very heavily So upon the ancient has died very heavily, laid thy yoke. So again, shall not show no mercy. Once again, making our life harder in captivity, doing abominable things not to be othered. All right, motherfucking experiments on Jake, separating a child from their father and mother to be a slave on another, plantation, never seeing their parents again. All right, doing things that we don't even know about, that the Lord has seen. Those are the things that we're going to be avenged, for. The Lord's going to avenge us, from. All right. Okay, but with that alone, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bashim, Al-Shah, Bashim, Kakudash, and upon the city apostles and others, great millstones, Shalom to the Icon, teaching his word out the four corners and truth, sincerity, Shalom.